Hello there and welcome back to another review. Today we're going to be having a look at the classic, phenomenal, groundbreaking first film in the Alien saga. Absolutely amazing film, one of my favourite movies of all time. I know there's countless amount of reviews out for this movie already all over the web, and I know probably many of you have seen Alien, but I just wanted to give my take on it, why I love it so much, why it's one of my favourites of all time. Of course, directed by Ridley Scott, written by Dan O'Bannon, and starring Sigourney Weaver, John Hurt, Ian Holm, Yaphet, Kotto, to name but a few. So a really great cast here. Really great cast of people, which very much do carry the movie completely. I mean, they really do carry it so well. And like I say, let me just say what a great cast this has. I mean, regardless of the film itself, the cast are absolutely fantastic. And they all work so well together, every single one of them. There's a great dynamic between all the characters here, and just the way their characters are and the way they interact together. What makes Alien so amazing is that it feels fresh and original. Even to this day, it still feels fresh and groundbreaking. It's not, like some films don't age that well, even though they were groundbreaking at the time. Sometimes they don't always hold up so well. Alien does in every sense, in every single way. From the shots, the cinematography, the acting, the premise, everything about it just screams just classic. And like I say, it feels like the film has not aged at all. Just all works so well. It just feels fresh and original, and with that feeling of solitude, confinement, isolation, in many ways was so ahead of its time. Dan O'Bannon going on to say he didn't just steal the idea from Alien from just anybody. He stole it from everybody, using films like Forbidden Planet, made in 1956, and The Thing from Another World, made in 1951, as his inspiration. Ridley Scott was hired as the studio was impressed with his film The Duelist, and they knew he would be someone that would take the subject matter seriously, rather than just treating it like a straight up B movie, which I'd imagine from the film producer's point of view was very much what they were fearful of. It was just going to become, like one of them classic sort of 1950s, 1960s B movies that were very popular. Sci-Fi was very much the in thing at the time in the late 70s, early 80s, largely thanks to Star Wars. You had Star Trek movies, Close Encounters, and of course Alien, along with the likes of, say, Flash Gordon. With the casting, it's very interesting to note the cast are a lot older than a lot of movies that were going on at the time, which gave the film a sense of gravitas and made the characters not only more appealing, but also more convincing. I mean, if you look at sometimes a lot of their horror movies, it's usually teenagers, it's usually sort of people in the 18, early 20s. Here, they're very much, these are adults, right? They've got a wage to earn. Their characters in this film, they're just normal workers. They're just... I think it gives the film a lot more groundness. And like I say, it makes everything, I think, to me personally, a lot more convincing. With the casting process, it was arranged that all characters are unisex, meaning some, like Dallas, Lambert, Kane, etc., could all have been men or women. There was no sort of... No, Dallas is definitely a man. Kane is definitely... They was very much open, the unisex, when they were doing the recruiting process. So that was what must have been quite liberating for the casting agents and people doing the casting. They could have just cast anybody if they just fit the part. Could be men or women. H.R. Giger was the man that was largely in charge of the look of the alien, the derelict spacecraft, the planet's surface. It was largely due to his painting the Necronomicon Vor, or 1V, IV, 4, which Dan O'Bannon and Scott felt was the look they definitely wanted for the Alien. Obviously, there is so much to say about this movie. It's become such a cultural phenomenon. You can't really do justice to Alien. Like I say, there's so much to say about it, but I will try and condense it into sort of a small time frame here just to get across why this film is such a classic. I'm sure, like I say, many of you out there have seen Alien. I'd say influenced movies and games like Metroid, Dead Space, Contra, Sigourney Weaver setting the standard for like a female hero, the infamous classic Notorious chest burster scene, the look, the feel, just so much to say about this movie. But I'll try and get through it as quick as I can, as thoroughly as I can, and with not hoping to keep you all for too long. So talking about the opening of the movie, even the way the title of the film comes in on them opening credits is memorable. Even just the way the title just suddenly gradually appears is memorable. The way it, and that haunting musical score by Jerry Goldsmith. So we're introduced to the Nostromo, which is a refinery vessel for mineral ore returning to Earth. And that is another thing about these characters. Like I say, they are just average Joes doing like blue collar jobs, like you and me, just doing trying to get by, earning their wage, trying to do their bit, trying to earn their crust. For example, like the characters like Parker and Brett wanting more money for what they do and talking about bonuses and things like that. And it just so happens, that's what's great about this movie, they're normal workers. Their work, it just so happens to be in space. That's what's so great. And that's what grounds the film with this group of like this ragtag crew. That's what grounds it quite well. And I love the set design and the way the corridors work. I mean, you can tell even shows like Red Dwarf owe a lot to Alien, especially in the later series of Red Dwarf. When you see this great big ship and are showing shots of like empty corridors and exteriors in the open, there's something about that just makes it so haunting and eerie, but so cool at the same time. It really does have a fantastic feel, this movie. So our crew awake from their sleep, almost like the notion of rebirth is what's implied here when they sort of all wake up and the film's starting to begin. The characters are coming out of their hypersleep. Dallas, the captain, gets called by Mother, the ship's computer, and we learn the crew are nowhere near Earth and that Mother intercepted a transmission of unknown origin which they have to investigate. What I love about this film as well is how you learn about these characters. As the film progresses, it's not just straight away let's give them one bit of dialogue that will just sum up their character. As the film progresses, we gradually learn more and more about these characters. Okay, some die earlier than others, but each one of these characters does have a very individual personality. Even in that short time frame that some of them are in it, they really do get across what their character is and how they react to things. Even the landing sequence is really well done with the turbulence, etc. Like, you really do get a sense that this isn't safe, right, when they go to check out this beacon that's like giving this transmission signal. So upon landing, Dallas, Kane and Lambert go on foot to investigate the signal. The wind and the storm outside just all adds to the atmosphere and the tone of the whole movie. And I love how Kane is like, it's within walking distance, and like the very next shot, they're in their spacesuits. Now, if that was done in modern day, if that was done in a modern movie, say if they were remaking Alien now, if they were doing like an Alien remake, or, I mean, God forbid, I do not want an Alien remake. But if they were doing that now, that whole bit when he says, is it in walking distance? Next shot, he's being suited up his spacesuit to go out and walk to find the beacon, right? This signal. Now, if that was doing now, we'd have had probably a 20-minute conversations, them getting suited up. Are you sure this is what you want to do? They'd have dragged it out beyond belief. Such is what films do now. They just make things so long. Just get on with it. Cut to the chase. Get on the side. Is it within walking distance? Within this, John Hurt. Next scene, he's suited up, either going out to find where the beacon is. As all largely unknowns, like with a lot of horror movies, you never know who the last one standing was going to be, because there was all sort of, like I say, relatively unknowns at this point. Obviously, in Holm, John Hurt were like sort of quite sort of somewhat established British actors, but sort of people like Sigourney Weaver and that, very sort of, I think she was largely mainly on stage at this point. So as I say, you were never really sure who the last one standing was going to be. It's not like, if you've got your main A-list star in it, then it's obviously they're going to be the ones who will, survive. So the howling of the wind as these three walk to their target is very unsettling. This was sci-fi not only done as a horror, but an intelligent horror. And that's what's so great about Alien, is it's not patronising in the slightest. It's an intelligent film. And they find this alien ship and a life form that has been fossilised and its chest burst. Ripley, played by Weaver, is thinking that the beacon may have been a warning instead of like a distress beacon. Like, they're thinking maybe, like she said, it could have been a warning. It could have been a sign of like, don't come here, there's bad stuff here. So they find these eggs and all this, and there's practical effects here. They still look good even now, as I've mentioned in previous reviews. I absolutely love practical effects over CGI any day. I mean, I know there's times when CGI does work, for example like the Lord of the Rings movies, when it's very much justified and in line with the plot and the narrative. But here with the eggs, and it's all practical, I mean, even now, like I mentioned, it still looks great. It really does look good. So as we all know, Kane gets attacked by a facehugger. They want to come back to ship, and Ripley is like, look, this isn't procedure and protocol, but Ash, played by Ian Holm, just lets them in anyway. When in medical bay, you see the facehugger on Kane, and I love the shot where you see the tail get tighter around his neck. And it's a fantastic prop. I'm going to say, really, the creature department and the prosthetics and makeup and all that did a fantastic job in this movie. It is the facehugger. We've learned it's the facehugger that is giving him oxygen, and Dallas, the captain, is like, look, just get that bastard off his face, right? Dallas is like, look, I don't care what it is, just get it off. So they go to cut it and finds out it has like acid for blood. Ripley confronts Ash about why he let them in, even though she said it's not protocol. Ash just let them in anyway. Can't stress enough how good, like I say, everyone is in this movie. Ripley just wants to go home. Ash wants to take it back so they can sort of test it. Ash is sort of working for the company, we learn. Dallas has to agree with him as he is like the science officer, so he lets sort of... Dallas is like, look, do whatever you want. If that's what you want to do, fine. But Ash has got an ulterior motive. So the facehugger is off of Kane, and when they go to check on him, they have a meal, and we have the now infamous chestburster scene. The scene still works for shock value, as you can tell. The crew and the cast do look, they do look genuinely freaked, and I believe it was done all in one take. I don't think they were even aware that there was even going to be sort of blood squirting out as well. I didn't think they knew that was going to happen. So some of the looks on their faces, if you look at sort of Yaphet Kotto's face, the general look of like sort of what the hell, it really is genuine. So Kane dies from this, so Ash designs like a tracking device, just like that. He designs like a tracking device so they can track this thing down, this thing that's burst out of his chest. And as I say, Ash is just like, I've made this tracking device for you. So again, if that had been done in a film now, that would have had a 10-minute montage of him making this tracking device. So they can hunt the alien down. Wonderful touch when Dallas tells them to like split into two teams. And this is another little thing. He puts Ripley with Parker and Brett Wright because she knows these are the two, like, the blue collar workers. They're always wanting more money for what they do. They're always trying to get more bonuses. They're sort of, Jack the lads kind of thing. And Dallas puts Ripley with them too because he knows she can handle them, right? He knows that Ripley, that she's not going to be intimidated by them. She can keep up with them. So it's nothing she can't handle. She's not going to be intimidated. They find the Cat Jones and send Brett. They find the Cat Jones and then they send Brett in to fetch him on his own. And see, it does follow some of the horror traits, like going in to check something out on your own when you would have called for backup. You would have got somebody else to go along with you. But Brett just goes in on his own. It's like often usually happens in a horror film. Like, go and check it out, and they're on their own. So he does that to go and get the cat back. If you watch the scene, listen to that soundtrack as well, with the heartbeat as well getting louder and louder. The set design here is absolutely amazing. We see some shed skin on the floor, so that we know the alien at this point is getting bigger and bigger, and it's growing at quite an alarming, like, rapid rate. And this is when we see the xenomorph as we know it, right? This is when we see excuse me, the xenomorph for the first time as we come used to it, and it using like the air ducts to move around the ship. Ripley wants to go in the vent, proving how... again, Ripley's character, Sigourney Weaver's character, Ripley, she is like, let me go in the vent. Like, Ripley's not scared about it. Ripley's like, I'll deal with it, let me go in. I'll go and get it. And Dallas is like, no, I'll do it, I'll go in. So this is where the film really does, this is when it becomes very much what you associate with Alien 1. That feeling of confinement, threat, isolation, being deep in space, Dallas with his flamethrower, the beeping of the monitor, etc. All things and traits that we've come to associate with this first Alien movie. And I love the way they do Dallas's death as well, with the flashlight of the audience after descending the ladder, and they look back to be greeted with the alien creature. It's just wonderfully done because you don't expect it coming, but he points the flashlight at the audience and you're like, oh, it's nothing around here, because it's like, it's right beside you. Points at the audience, you're like, oh, okay, it's all chill. Turns back, creature's right there, grabs him. Fantastic stuff. Wonderfully directed scene. This is where the film I'm talking about, this crew and the actors here involved, this is where the acting by everyone really comes through. Parker is fuming. Lambert wants to abandon the ship. Ripley asking Ash for any suggestions, and her reaction when she realises something is up and finds out the crew are expendable. Wonderful performance here from all, especially, I say, Ian Holm and Sigourney Weaver here. We're learning that Ash is a robot and has been like, the whole time he's been protecting the alien for the weapons division. And if you watch the scuffle between Ash and Ripley, it's quite brutal stuff here. It's quite a brutal encounter between the two, because it's these two that have largely been butting heads, and Sigourney Weaver has sort of been onto him ever since, like I say, he didn't follow protocol and sort of let Dallas and Kane and that in the ship anyway. As I say, and if you watch that scene, he is really throwing Ripley around. And I love as well in this scene how they go from a prop Ash head to the real one seamlessly. Like, it's done really well. Like, they're balancing sort of his head up on the desk, and then it turns to obviously Ian Holm sort of under a desk with his head popping up, but it's done really well. It's done, I'll say, it's almost seamlessly, the intertwining between the shot. So they agree to blow up the ship and take their chances in the shuttle to escape. As prepping, Lambert and Parker get killed by the alien, and it's so creepy, that scene with the shadow appearing on the wall and that look of terror on Veronica Cartwright's face. It really is really cool stuff, really scary stuff. Absolutely love it. So there's just Ripley left at this point, and those film has its like loads of memorable moments. It's the shot of the siren, the corridors, Ripley scared out of her wits with the flamethrower, the strobe lights. You know, like with Bruce Lee at the end of Enter the Dragon when he's in that wall of mirrors and that sort of scene is sort of frozen in your memory forever. The Alien pretty much has that same thing going on with it as well, with Ripley going down that corridor with the flamethrower, with the siren going, scared out of her wits. That is what I think of when I think of Ellen Ripley, right? This is where Alien to me is so visually such an amazing film. She makes, let's say, just incredible. It just sticks with you forever. So she makes it to the shuttle, and the look on Weaver's face, she is, I mean, like I say, when you look at her performances, she is absolutely terrified. She is absolutely, like I say, scared out of her skin at this point. She's lost her crew, she's in deep space, she's trapped with this thing, and what is wonderful about this performance is she never overacts. She never over-eggs it. She never once goes overboard with the performance, which so many people would have done. But Sigourney Weaver keeps it in check. She doesn't make it like sort of hysterical. She's not overacting it, and she plays it perfectly. Absolutely plays it perfectly. So she thinks she has escaped, and turns out the alien is on board. Love her looking right at the creature as she dons her spacesuit, and the fact she starts singing to calm herself, to sort of relax herself, is just proving how scared and terrified Ellen Ripley actually is. She opens the airlock and she fires up the engine, killing the creature, and ends with her leaving one last log entry, then going into hypersleep. An amazing, obviously I'll jump through the film quite quickly there, but an amazing, awesome movie that I'd say is just not aged, and that I can watch over and over again. And in many ways, I don't say this about many films, but in many ways, to me, Alien is perfect. I don't think there's anything wrong with the movie that I can think of out loud. There's nothing at all where I think, oh, that it would have been good if, or why didn't they, or that didn't. It's, to me, from start to finish, it's a perfect movie. It's a perfect movie. It's a visual movie. It's a horror movie. It's a sci-fi movie. It's a great cast in this, and it's just everything about it. And like I say, it set the standard, and it was groundbreaking, and in many ways it's sort of never been bettered. I know loads of people love Aliens. I love Aliens as well, but Alien, the first one, definitely needs to be, like I say, respected, and it's just a truly fantastic film. But I will try and get through all the Alien movies. We'll try and do the Predators as well at some point, and then try and get the Alien versus Predators done. Yeah, hope you enjoyed my review of the first Alien movie, and I'll see you again soon.